I am going to dive into the 5 mobile homes that I have done this year, okay? I bought all of them this year. I rehabbed them all this year, and they're all getting sold this year, okay? This isn't anything that, you know, is 5 years ago or 3 years ago or somewhere in another state or anything like that. This is all 40-mile radius around where we're all sitting, okay? So the question is, if the condenser was working, did I keep it? The whole thing was shot. It didn't have AC, though. It was just a heater, and the whole heat exchanger was all rusted out. So, Patrick? How did I get to the $500 purchase price? The park wanted more, and that's what I offered. It was a lien sale. Yeah, I think they owed like $7 to the attorney on it. And you know, this park's worked with me a bunch of times. If nobody shows up, they got the paperwork. I don't even have to go anymore. You know, they just they call me afterwards and like, your paperwork's ready. And I said, dude, these things are jacked up. Like, you know, that's all I can do. So I bought them both at the same time. The next one I'm going to go into $1,000 for both of them. Where'd I get the money? Somebody in the club? Yep. What do you mean, nah? What's that? Insurance for that. Babe, what was insurance on this one? Yep. 1,000 for the year, and like 500 for the liability, I think it was. That was fair plan. Yep. Yeah, and they're getting harder and harder too on they wanted they were beating the door down to get an inspection inside, and I was like, no. I just stalled, and then I got the cancellation notice, and then I paid it, and then they tried to come again, and I just ignored it again. We just went around and around. So, anyways, all right. Deal 2. Same deal. That's the outside of it. Doesn't look too bad. That's the inside. Still doesn't look that bad, huh? Just a lot of stuff. Is Johnny still here? Where is he? Hey, you having flashbacks? Johnny cleans out all my houses now, so he gets to smell them too with me. So I did, again, be careful, especially in these mobile homes when everything's covered. Okay, you can't see the subfloors. You're gonna see why. That was the kitchen. Okay. I did. I absolutely overpaid for this one. They should have paid me to do this one. That's after, Johnny cleaned out the living room. And what you can't really see in this picture is this floor is going like this. So, yeah, right. And then, that's the bedroom. Okay. Again, that's after some of it's been cleared out. Okay, so lots of holes in the ceiling, or lots of water issues. Yeah, so some rehab pictures, which are not so, before I get to the rehab. So this one, they were kind of the opposite of each other, okay? The other one was better on the inside, but bad on the outside. This one was the opposite, as the outside wasn't that bad. And what's crazy is this one's actually older. This is the 60s, but they built them better in the 60s than they did in the 70s, okay? And even the 80s. So a lot of the original manufactured homes from the 60s are all metal siding, okay? They're all that corrugated metal and then metal skirting and all that. That stuff lasts forever, okay? So I love getting homes that have all the metal siding. I generally never have to do anything to them, aside from, replacing some skirt pieces or they're a little bit of a trickier process to paint. You got to be careful with chalking, depending on how you guys paint. But structural wise, they're generally, the siding's usually not an issue when they're metal. Okay. So some rehab pings. There's a lot of rehab pictures. So that we pretty much. I mean, this thing ended up just pretty much almost getting gutted. And to answer your question, yeah, we probably could have put some recessed lighting in this one when it was all done, but we didn't, because we literally do not have a penny to spare on this one. Because a lot of the subfloor I didn't know was that bad until we got all the stuff out.
Is it because it's so moist up there you have to take out the subfloor instead of just overlaying?
So it was rippling so bad, and lifting everywhere and holes in it and all of that. The question was that you just couldn't lay over it. Yeah, it was. Plus, it was all growing, some discoloration. So not supposed to laugh. And then the roof, that was above the master bedroom. And then what I also found out was that the roof, some of the joists were broken. So had to do that too. So that hole was probably from a tree landing on it, which I didn't realize. Okay. And then, was there a question? Sorry. Yes. Sorry, she was distracting me. Is that them next door? Toyota Corolla. Who's got a black Toyota Corolla? Blue. Blue, gray, Toyota Corolla. If you're behind their roll-up door. Yeah. So tell them to be quiet while you're over there. And once we really got into it, the literally like the frame on the outside of it, all the seal plates were pretty much gone too. So that wall that you're seeing right there was just pretty much like floating. You could just press on it and it would go. Yeah, there was a wall. It even had a floor at some point. Sorry. Well, the outside on this one was pretty much just a paint job. There really wasn't all that bad a repair, versus the out. So, I mean, probably at least double, if not more, of replacing, probably at least half of the siding on the other one. This one I didn't have to do any siding work to. It was all interior. Okay? Yep. Yeah, it was just the sill plate on the... Actually, I think those are the new ones. This picture's a little after. And then that one on the left there is, so that's like same thing again. So what I always do when these things start off is 2 bedrooms. My first thing is to figure out where I'm going to add a 3rd bedroom. Okay? That's like mandatory. On this one was bigger than the other one. So the living room was huge in this one. Literally just built a wall right off the back side of the kitchen, wall, door, and it gave me a good size, probably, I don't know, 120 square foot bedroom. Alfonso? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Next question. The answer is yes. Next question. Water. Yeah. Probably both. So, I mean, well, this one had it at all angles because the roof was bad. So water was leaking into the roof. Water was probably sitting underneath the unit because the skirt had been, I mean, those skirts, I mean, yeah, even though it's clean on the skirt, I mean, as far as like the skirt's in good shape, I mean, you could see it. It was kind of like in different areas from trees lifting it up and stuff. Some moisture gets underneath these things. And then if they put some kind of paper, I'm sure, at some point, in the 60s, but all that's, deteriorated and all of that, before by now. So, but same thing. I mean, we ended up, and then the back side of this, that's the back side of the shower that you see in that picture. That wall was bad too. Okay, so we rebuilt that wall. The kitchen, all of that, those cabinets, all that. We'd actually saved some of the cabinets. Along this wall, we redid all the doors, I think, in this one. But we'd had to rebuild this side of the kitchen, and they just built some simple cabinets there. Again, budget, okay? The budget in here was all in the walls and floor, pretty much all the stuff that nobody's going to see, and somebody's going to walk in and say, why didn't you redo the cabinets, Gary? And this is why, and this is some of the stuff you guys got to learn to live with when you flip houses, is that buyers are going to come in and not see everything that you did behind the walls, okay? And you're just going to have to roll with it, okay? As infuriating as it might be, it happens, okay? Mary? Small bed. So the legal definition of a bedroom has nothing to do with a closet. Some people will disagree on me with this, and I always tell them, show me it in the code, okay? So appraisers, so it's this, what do you call it? Often repeated, truth that's, as far as I know, is not actually true. So you don't need a bedroom, you don't need a bedroom in a bedroom. You don't need a closet to be considered a bedroom, okay? But you do, this is in the code, is that it has to be a minimum of 70 square feet, okay? So it's got to be at least 70 square feet. You don't necessarily need a window. You need a egress. Okay, so if your bedroom is a second, you can't have one entrance to that bedroom due to fire code. Okay, as far as I know, I don't. Is that a trick question? Do you actually need a window?
I was told you do, but
So normally, honestly, every time I've added a bedroom, it's always been somewhere that there was already a window. Okay, I've never added one that didn't have a window. I just, but you do need to have egress, absolutely. So you need to have two ways in and out of a bedroom. Okay, pretty much any room. You could call it a den, yeah. But ideally, you can call it whatever you want, honestly. But ideally, when you put it up on Zillow, you want to say that it's a 3-bedroom. Okay. Yes, sir. When I'm marketing something as a bonus room, so this is something I will call it a bedroom all day. If it's a bonus room, a den, a craft room, a she shack, whatever, I will call it a bedroom. Okay, I'll let somebody else decide the caveat of whatever they want to call it. If the buyers want to call it something else, go for it. But I'm calling it a bedroom. Okay, and sometimes I get appraisers that will count the bedroom and value it as a bedroom. Other ones will say, this is more like a den. I'm like, all right, whatever. Just give me the value. I don't give a shit what you call it. All right. Somebody else had a hand up? Josh? Am I only adding the third bedroom in all ages parks versus senior parks? And am I doing that because of value add? I've heard the arguments for and against not doing it in senior parks. I don't really agree with them. I've literally never had a buyer ever tell me that they would want to have one less bedroom in a house for whatever use is possible. Now, is there some very small subset of seniors that would say, well, I don't want to have an extra bedroom so that my grandkids or somebody doesn't try and live here? Absolutely. But those aren't the people that I'm not building the house for them. Okay, because the bedroom's always going to give you value on an appraisal. Okay, so I would add it. And right now I wouldn't be doing a ton in senior parks, but that's just me. So, or it might not just be me anymore. Okay, all right, let's move on a little bit. So yeah, lots of rebuilding stuff in this one. Okay, again, they should have just paid me to take this one. I think the $500 I paid was generous. We pretty much redid most of the ceilings, most of the subfloor, a lot of the framing. Okay, and yes, LA. You got a Zoom question? 70 square foot is the minimum for a bedroom. That is specifically for residential as far as I'm aware. I don't think it matters whether it's mobile home or a house. Right? That is drywall, yep. Yes. Yep. 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 Yeah, and again, it's all getting painted anyways. So, but on this one, as a cost-cutting measure, for a lot of the walls, we still use paneling. Okay. Yeah, because doing a paneling on the ceiling is just going to look like crap, and then you have to deglaze it and paint it and do all that. It's more prep. It's not worth it to do it on the ceilings. So. Has anybody ever griped to me because I had one wall drywall and one wall paneling? No, not to my face. Yeah, and I get you get a pass in the mountains too, guys. There's a lot of like people like the little bit of the wood element and stuff like that. So, would I do it off the mountain? Maybe. Kind of depends on what's going on. I don't think the wood accent really carries anything in like Hemet, but if I needed to save some money, I would use paneling. Yeah. Again, depends. If it's $250,000, $300,000 thing in Riverside, or out in Orange County or wherever else, like I might just spring for the drywall. Okay, but if it's $60,000 mobile home in a senior park in Hemet, they're getting paneling. Okay. All right, it's not done yet. It's pretty close. Flooring's all in. Kitchens are all done. So let's see the numbers. Again, I bought it for $500, and I feel like I overpaid. Okay. Both of these, I mean, yes, I will make some money on these. I'll wait for that. So rehab budget was 60. I thought it was going to be 60. Okay. The ARV, actually, I think it was 50. I think I forgot to change this slide. My ARV is about 99. I think I'm going to get a little bit more for this one because it's bigger. Okay. And it's going to be a little bit nicer when the time it's all done because it got more done to it. Okay. My hold time is about 6 months. My rehab actual, we're not going to go there. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably going to be about 60. Okay, yeah, my budget was 50. All right, it's probably going to be about 60. There's some other stuff in here that there was this whole room out front that was like a closed-in patio, and it was all rotted out. We were going to try and save it, and I just said screw it, just rip it down. It was like built in. They built the walls around the covered patio. So, yeah, they're like the metal covered patio, or the awning, like the metal awnings that are famous on mobile homes. They just kind of built a patio and then closed that patio in. They never sealed up the roof where the patio met the thing, so it just leaked in, and it was literally, I mean, the floor was like, Johnny couldn't even like roll his thing over it. Like it was so done, and it smelled. I mean, you could literally smell it. And so I just said rip it down. And I really just wanted like 3 steps into the front door. I would have been happy with that. But then they rebuilt like a little porch. I was like, all right. So I don't want to know what it cost me, but it looks nice. Yeah. Do I ever do any landscaping? Ask me that question on the next one. I don't like to do landscaping. Again, depends. $60,000, $90,000 in Crestline. I don't ever do landscaping up in the mountains. Okay. Yeah, the pine needles look great. Just put a little tree bark on that, it looks even better. So yeah, I generally do like a lot cleanup, weed whack, blow everything off, rake, all that kind of stuff. But I won't do landscaping up there. The one that I'm going to go into in a little bit, that was a $280,000 price point. Yeah, we threw like $600 worth of bark and some shrubs in the front, and it looked nice. Okay, I fought it, but it looked nice. So, Are you a certified M-word expert?